Hello everyone, Coach Dave here, and we have some exciting things to demonstrate in the new version of ACC. Finally, the GT4s are ready. I've been playing it, I've been in the beta group for about 2 weeks now, and I've tested every single one of the cars, and I gotta say that this upgrade is substantial. It really goes to show the effort and sort of hard work that ACC have been putting in the background, the Kunos developers. If you consider where it was in version 1 of ACC when it first got released to where it is now, the steps are just massive. So I'm going to choose what I think is the best sounding car for this demonstration of the GT4s, and which is the Chevrolet, and we're going to go to Zolder as a track which I think is well suited to these cars. They are noticeably slower in a straight line, and their braking distances compared to the GT3s, but in my opinion at least, a lot more fun. A lot more fun. So let's hit the track. I think that the cool thing about this update and this new version of ACC, version 1.5, is it goes to show honestly how good the physics engine has become, because I've driven a number of these cars in real life, and the realism and the feeling that I get from the car is quite similar to what I experience in real life. Of course, it's not perfect. I've explained this many times. Sims cannot align perfectly with what real life feels like. But I think it just goes to show once you open up the scope of the physics engine that ACC is using, you start to really get to experience the advantages of the physics as well. Because there's a lot more scope to move and to drive these cars. Whereas in the GT3s, there's usually a very specific way, and you have to really send it into corners, stop the car at the apex, get a turn, and hit the throttle as soon as you can. With the GT4 cars, there's a bit more to that, which we'll go into in a moment now. There's just a bit more scope on corner entry, on braking, which widens the window for people to drive and their driving styles to suit the cars better. So a couple of things out the gate. First of all, we've got, I think it's 11 new cars, all with like awesome sounding engines, awesome sounding, just generally a lot of accuracy on that side. I've been spending a lot of time in the Porsche Cup car, which I've driven at the Nordschleife a few times, and it sounds like the car that I've driven. Same with the McLaren 570S in the game. It's 570 GT4, I think it's called. Not my favorite car in the game, but also very reminiscent of what I've experienced in real life. In the Camaro, I haven't driven it, but I love the sound of it. I love the feeling of it over curbs, and that's why I wanted to demonstrate things in this car. What's interesting is that with the GT4s, they don't have tire warmers, so it takes about 2 laps to get the tires up to temperature. It means you have to avoid the curbs, and if you do ride the curbs too hard, you're going to experience pressure loss, which is what happens in real life if you hit the curbs too hard. But usually in real life, you experience that pressure loss because you've cut your tire. ACC or Kunos were kind enough not to make that happen here in the game. So you do still get the pressure loss, but you don't get cut tires, which is a relief. Anyway, usually out the pits I'm completely on it, but obviously I want to run through the game a little bit here, just explain how things are going. So the most fun that we're going to get out of these cars, I think, is going to be on the shorter tracks. Budapest, Misano, Zolder, Zandvoort as well. And the racing is going to be insane. I kind of feel sorry for the stewards from all the racing leagues, because they're going to be pretty busy with protests, and it's really going to play out quite a lot there. So the racing itself is going to be much closer because it broadens the scope of what you can do as a driver. Because the braking phases are longer, because the entry phases are longer through corners, there's more options of what to do and how to manipulate the car if you've made a mistake going into the turn. Whereas with the GT3 cars, if you make a mistake going into the turns, you're going to have a tough time gathering that all up and still produce a good lap time. So a couple of things that I think are pretty cool, a couple of notes rather, about the physics, at least what I've experienced with these cars. First of all, you can absolutely hammer the curbs, which I love. I'm probably going to get a track limit penalty here, but just to demonstrate, look at that, it's so smooth compared to the GT3s. You'd be literally flying up over over the curbs there into the sky, going full SpaceX. But with these cars, you can use a lot more curbs, and which makes it obviously a bit more fun. You can be much more aggressive. There is a net result. There's a lot of sort of understeer on the exit if you don't get the corner entry right. So you do have to make sure that you're pointing the car as straight as possible, as soon as possible. But I think overall, it's still very fun to drive. See, there's some of the understeer that I talk about. The worst understeer though will come when you get on the power. But that's true for real life. The front tires on these cars are much narrower than the GT3's. The tires in general are thinner tires, which extends the braking distances, and also just gives you generally a bit less grip going into the turn. So you can't attack the brakes like you would in the GT3's. If you brake too late and you activate the ABS and apply steering lock, you're going to be missing apexes big time. You're going to be running wide, etc. So I would say that you have to get on top of that. The first thing that you're going to wonder is, why can't I turn the car? Why can't I stop the car? And it just probably means that you're being too aggressive initially. So be much more patient with the with the entry phase, and you will be rewarded. This game is so fun with these GT4's. I can't explain it. I'm just so happy that we have more options now in the game, because not only look at that, you can really just hammer the curves. I love it. I've done 1 or 2 races with the AI. It was difficult to beat them initially, but once I got on top of the handling of these cars, wasn't that hard. I think they just need a touch more work on the AI side. And generally, each car has its own character in a big way. I mean, they all seem pretty unique. Obviously, I've been doing a lot of setup work with these cars already, because we want to offer you something on the Coach Dave Academy. So I put in some mileage in all the cars, and it's really interesting how each one differs a lot. It seems to me, at least, that, for example, the Camaro has a lot more torque than most of the other cars, but it is lacking top speed. Whereas the Audi, at least when I was doing some straight line testing at Paul Ricard, the Audi has crazy top speed. Really nice handling though. The mid-engine cars are really fun to drive, but also very snappy. The Porsche Cayman, excuse me, really tends to snap on you out of nowhere. But that's pretty much what's happened to me in real life. The first time I drove the Cayman in real life, I exited the pits in the Nürburgring, got to turn 1, turned in, got on the power, and literally spun 360. Well, not 360, more like 240. And it's kind of what happens here. If you're too aggressive with the Cayman on the entry of the corner, on turn-in specifically, not necessarily braking, you're going to get a snap. Oh man, I love riding a bit of curb, honestly. Okay, so yeah, overall, a ton of fun, and I think we're going to get our best racing. I can see though a lot of people are going to be they can't wait for multi-class racing. And I'm just going to tell you now, if you're frustrated with backmarkers in GT3 racing, single class racing, wait till you get to multi-class and you approach a car at Silverstone in Maggotts Beckett's endurance race. You're not going to be that happy. I'm just warning you now, because these cars are considerably slower through the corners, and can actually achieve a decent top speed, so you're not just going to catch them easily at the end of the straight either. Okay, so now that this car's done, let's quickly, I have some time. So if you're wondering, one of my helmets is missing here. That's because I'm packed and ready to go to Paul Ricard for the first round of the ELMS. So I'm making this just before I go to the airport. I have been so excited to talk about this. I haven't been able to do any streaming because when you're using the beta version of the game, you're not allowed to stream. And I can switch back and forth, but my luck with technology, I choose not to do that. So let's quickly go to the mid-engine. We'll talk about the Porsche. Very different car to drive. And that's what I love about this new update, is there's going to be a car for everyone, I think. Like, I, for example, don't like the KTM or the Ginetta, but I know guys in the beta program love those two cars. So credit to them. My favorite so far has been the Camaro because of the sound. And I also like the Audi a lot. but I've always been a massive Audi fan. Okay, so let's go like this. If you don't like snappy cars, don't drive the Porsche. There's going to be a lot of these videos going around today or tomorrow. There's going to be quite a few embargoes lifted. So feel free to check out some of the other YouTubers. I reckon Jimmy, Chris Hay, those boys are going to have something. And if you watch the race on Monday night, the sort of launch race, you'll see how fun these cars are to race against each other. Now, I've actually been in any of those races because I was busy doing some other things, but just my experience with the AI, the contact physics and everything tells me that this is going to be a lot of fun. Alright, so now into the Porsche, also a good sounding car. But you can't ride the curbs nearly as much as the Camaro. And it doesn't sound as good. But it's fun to drive. It's quite, you can manipulate the car quite a lot, provided you get on top of the snappiness. Which again, it's because it's got such a short wheelbase and it's mid-engined. If you're not careful with this thing, it's going to bite you. So yeah, I think of all the cars that I've driven though, the Porsche is the one that I've struggled the most with under braking. But it's probably because I was just a bit nervous of spinning out, maybe. I don't know. But I think that of the cars I've driven, the braking in the Porsche is probably not the best. But it is, on average, it's a very fast car. It can really put in a lap time. You just have to be very sensitive with the handling. Look how much of the curves you can use. I'm serious, the GT4's have really opened up the scope of the physics in ACC. It's shown how good the physics are from a baseline point of view. The GT3's still feel like the GT3's, no question about it. So it's not like they've done massive re-engineering on the physics side just to compensate for the GT4's. It looks like they've used what they already have in the game and just expanded the scope and probably done a lot of the hard work before they even launched this version or started to discuss the GT4's. I'm pretty sure that Aris and the team were anticipating some kind of improvement on this side, or just saying, look, we're obviously going to make more cars than just GT3's, so they put a lot of things into consideration. I know, for example, that the tire physics is completely different for the GT4's. It has to be because it's a different tire model from Pirelli, different tire sizes. There's no heating involved here. Optimum tire pressures are in a different window. You have to be very patient. Apologies for, I know that the video jerks sometimes. It's just my computer can't cope with the awesomeness that's going on here. Yeah, so the heating, the optimum tire pressure window is 26.5 as opposed to 27.5. Couple of things there, and in the settings window you also get a little bit less scope because a lot of these cars are based off road going machines and then tweaked for the racetrack, whereas the GT3 cars, they look like the road cars, but I can promise you now, underneath they're nothing like the road cars, or at least in the case of the Ferrari. So yeah, here you'll get a much more road car-like feeling, which is why you get this massive scope on corner entry and through the corner to adjust and manipulate the car to what you like in terms of a driver. And again, because of the massive car choice, there's going to be something for you there. The worst car that I think is in the game, just from a personal taste point of view, and the one I enjoyed the least was either the KTM or the BMW. I didn't really like the sound. I don't like the heaviness of the BM, and to me the KTM just feels dead. I was surprised that other guys in the beta program really loved it. Look how you can ride the curbs. Love that stuff. But again, it's gonna come down to what you like best. I'm interested to see how many people drive the Maserati, which is probably equally good sounding compared to the Camaro. But anyway, that's all I really have to say for now. When I get back from my racing at the European Le Mans, I will definitely be doing a lot of streaming in these cars. I wish I was able to make the launch events a couple of nights ago, but you know, I also can't wait to get back to real racing. So there you go, that's my short little introductory video to the GT4s. It's not a review because I'm mostly biased, because I'm involved in helping make this game a little bit better in my tiny little way. Although, to be honest, with the GT4s, I didn't give much feedback, except I messaged RS to say, how did he do it? It was like snake oil or something, like a magic potion to make some of the cars that I've driven in this game feel like the cars that I've driven in real life. Or there's a familiarity. Of course, when you push them to the limits, same with the GT3s, they no longer start to feel like the real counterparts. But that's the nature of sim racing. You can always push the physics to a weird and wonderful place that doesn't feel real. But the familiarity of all the cars is pretty good. Combined now with the graphics and everything that ACC is doing, they really have produced a great game. And I'm really proud of what the Kunos guys have been able to achieve here. So full credit to them. I've gone on a little bit here, so I'm going to end it here. When I get back, I'll do plenty of streaming about the GT4s, or in the GT4s. And of course the sim grid and stuff. And Coach Dave Academy will have races and setups available at some point in the near future. So thank you so much for watching. And I hope to catch you guys soon. But until the next time, catch you on the next lap. Peace.